Sure. This question is kind of a follow-up and talking about Iraq and other places of the world, and even just the sentiment and the againstness that's out there and the emotion we're feeling. And I think a couple things by way of bullet point. The first thing is there is such a thing as righteous anger. There is such a thing as righteous anger. When we see things that ought not be or things that should grieve us and we're grieved by them, that's not bad anger. That's appropriate and it's right. God gets angry. God has righteous anger. Jesus had righteous anger. It didn't mean that he wasn't sanctified yet. Jesus isn't fully mature yet because he let his temper get the best of him. That's not the case. Like, he had righteous anger because his response was appropriate for what the situation was presenting as. Okay? So there is a point in which anger is a good thing. I think anger can go awry very quickly when we jump to againstness. So being against our enemy rather than understanding our enemy. So whatever the issue is that's really bothering you or me or whatever, we first have to understand those people. If you're pro-Israel, you have to understand what the people in Gaza are living with, what that's like, what their story is. The fact that they're not even getting the ability to leave a strip of land that's no bigger than, Redmond and Bend and whatever. So how can you have a balanced worldview if you're never able to even get out? So expecting them to see the world the way we do or I do, it's impossible. I mean, at least understanding. There's no home insurance in Gaza. All these homes, the people that got caught in the collateral damage, if you had $100,000 sunk into your home, you just lost that $100,000. I mean, there's a part that you can empathize with. If you're pro-Palestine and you don't understand the Israeli perspective of security and the need for it and the history and the fact that the rules don't seem to apply to them the way they do other places in the world, and the fact that anti-Semitism is a very real thing, and on and on and on, then if you're pro-Palestine, you got to understand that narrative too. If the current race things are there today and you find yourself on one side of the equation, start first to understand and empathize with the other side so that when you have the conversation, you're having it as somebody that's informed, not as somebody that's parroting a platform or an opinion or a conclusion or a very stilted extreme view, but as somebody that's digested these things and can speak with authority or with intelligence or with maturity. But I think righteous anger is a very okay thing, but I think it needs to be tempered by the call to knowledge and maturity and discernment and a spirit of unity that's ultimately looking to get to truth. Otherwise, righteous anger can just become a part of the problem and perpetuate the cycle of misunderstanding or extremism. Extremism happens on all sides. And I do think there's some things that we have to look at and say, as Christians, we have to be able to begin to stomach more difficult conversations on Sunday morning than what we're used to stomaching. The Christian audience in America, by and large, is used to coming in and having the sermons built around their felt needs. My job, my marriage, my relational difficulties, my lack of funds, the fact that I want to be happier, and all the sermons, somehow the application points point to those kinds of felt needs. We don't normally come in saying, I want a theology lesson. I want a worldview lesson. Bring it from Scripture, but teach me theology, teach me worldview. I want to get educated. Or teach me some things that don't seem like they have anything to do with my community. It has to do with, say, Missouri or Iraq or whatever. But please go be informed and bring to us on a Sunday morning some thoughts or reflections. And it's okay if we don't agree all the time. Don't have to leave a church just because you disagree with something on a Sunday. But please bring some things that challenge us all to think. I think there's a need for that because, like you said, there are different religions and different worldviews and different things happening that are going to only continue and grow and deepen. And me having 500 self-help principles isn't going to prepare me for interacting in that world that's coming. So I think we need to learn to change what we have a stomach for on Sunday morning and what we call church. I don't think the apostles or Jesus trafficked only in felt needs. I think they went a lot broader than that. In fact, I know they didn't. You just go read John 6, and Jesus says, "You're coming to me because I fed you. If I wanted to make you happy, I would just keep feeding you what you want. But that's not why I'm here. I'm here for something different." And they all walked away very disappointed. So Jesus and his disciples didn't traffic only in felt needs. They tried to extend the conversation to what people needed to hear or would benefit from. So I think that's a part of it as well. But I think these are very serious times. There's a letter from John Adams to Jefferson, I think it is. It could be the other way around. But it just says, we live in very serious times. And I've always hung on to that phrase. It's just a very interesting phrase for Adams to be writing Jefferson after they're both out of office and just saying, we live in very serious times. I think we live in very serious times. So I think we need to learn how to be very serious people.